sins. We're going to find out all the deadly sins that our colleagues have been up to tonight. So let's get straight to it. The first deadly sin is vanity, or pride. Pride is the official one, but vanity in yourself. So the question is, what aspect of yourself do you have the most pride in? That question again, what aspect of yourself do you have the most pride in? And that question goes to Gill.
What a hard question. I don't think I've got a pride in any particular thing at all. I think the thing that I value about myself is something that my father had, which was honesty. And it can be a downer if you're too honest. But my father was the most honest man I knew. He was a chemist, and he had a way of talking with people, and he had a way of bringing us up that said, it doesn't matter what anybody does, you respect them if they do what they do well, and they value themselves. And it's something that I've grown up with, that whoever it is, if they do something well, then I really value them. And I'd be honest about, which is something else, is valuing somebody and saying, thank you, I value you, because we all seem to lack the ability to say thank you. And when I've started now, because of evaluating, going around and saying in shops and to people who do a good job, thank you, you see their faces lit up. And for me, if I'm told that I'm honest, and if people value me like I value them, then I'm a very lucky girl.
Thank you, Jill. Our second one is envy. Envy means a desire for something that somebody else has that you would like. So the question is, what makes you envious? Very simply, what makes you envious? And that question goes to Mike.
Toastmasters, that's easy. Nothing makes me envious. I don't experience envy, and that is an absolute truth. It is a pride of mine, if I may use that advice. If I were to experience envy, I would have to consider the sort of things that I would wish that I don't possess. But that is such a very odd desire in itself. It might involve certain skills, perhaps. I'm not able, for example, to sing. And I suppose I would love to be able to sing. But that doesn't make me jealous of those who can. It just makes me desirous of being able to do so. There are other skills, of course. I can't run very fast. I would love to be able to run fast. But I'm not jealous or envious of the people who can. Other skills that I would enjoy. I struggle because I'm so competent at singing. But there must be many things that I would love to be able to achieve. Yes, I'll tell you, there are many goals I have set myself in life that I nearly obtained and somebody else did. I'm thrilled for them when they do it. They become an example to me, somebody that I can emulate. I'm not one of those people who, when he passes a Rolls Royce, scratches the side of it as he walks along. I look at that car and I think, maybe one day I could afford a car like that. I don't feel jealousy, Mr. Toastmaster.
So I know it wasn't you who scratched me. Our next sin is gluttony. Gluttony is all about excessive eating. So my question is, which food or drink can you not resist having excessively? And that question goes to Justin.
Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Which foods can I not resist eating and drinking? Gluttony is a really simple one. The drink that I can't resist drinking is water. Okay? I drink it all the time, I don't drink anything else, and I love it. And the food that I like to eat is healthy foods. But I do it a little bit too much. And I watched a documentary last night on HIIT, high intensity interval training, and it was fantastic. And I saw somebody today, a pal of mine, and I said, "What is this HIIT? What's the point of it?" And he says, "To run quickly." I said, "What do you say, tranquility?" No, he says, to run quickly, because it gets rid of your belly. I thought he meant tranquility, as in you relax, and it's very good for you, one thing or another. But so when I eat, I like to do a bit of exercise and eat healthy food. And the food I can't resist, to answer the question specifically, is shepherd's pie. Yeah. I think there's, yeah, that's that's my speech.
Right, going well. Okay, the next deadly sin is lust. Lust means having a craving for not necessarily someone or something. So someone or something. So my question is this: who or what have you ever lusted for? And that question goes to David.
First thing I would like to say, Mr. Table Topics Master, to the people that have spoken before me, I hate the lot of you. You're such a well-adjusted, competent bunch of people, and nowhere close to me achieving. I'm envious of that skill, and I take pride in the fact that. And as for gluttony, look, I eat very little, but very often. So what have I lusted after? Well, most things and most people. The world, as I say, the world is your oyster. I was talking of oysters. The world is your oyster, they say. And oysters are reputed to be an aphrodisiac. Now, I don't know if, who here has eaten oysters? Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to ask, but I've had one oyster once. And for me, I can honestly say it was like ingesting phlegm. And I can, and certainly not, I believe that the person who came up with the idea of oysters as an aphrodisiac was a marketing man who owned a beach that was full of oysters. And he said, how can I get rid of these pests? I know, I will tell people that they're an aphrodisiac. And thereafter, a legend was born and has lasted thousands of years. I have spent the better part of 45 years lusting after people, things, objects. I'm not going to name them here, it would be invidious to do so. And it also, I plead the Fifth Amendment. But lust, I think, I don't understand why it's a sin. It's one of the greatest pleasures.
Next sin is anger. So my question is, what makes you angry? with the question, what makes you angry? Please welcome Rudy.
Hello everybody, fellow Toastmasters, my name's Rudy, as you've heard. What makes me angry? Well, certainly nothing that I've heard here today so far. It's been a very stimulating talk. It's my first talk actually, my first time here in Toastmasters. Now it's quite a subtle thing that makes me angry, but it's something that I am very aware of. And it's when I do something and I make a mistake and I feel like that's costed me something like time was wasted. I went the wrong way down the street and that took 5-10 minutes and now I'm going to go 10 minutes back and then 10 minutes the other way. That's 20 minutes journey that should have taken 10 minutes. Such a simple thing, but when I feel like something's been done unnecessarily, it drives me mad. When I feel like I've misplaced my card and I leave the house and I have to go back and look for it and I don't know if it's there, I don't know if it's there, I get absolutely mental. I start talking to myself. I probably shouldn't admit this, otherwise I should probably section me. It's this simple thing that makes me angry. I think that's the thing that makes me angry the most. Let me think if there's anything else. To be honest, there are other things that make me angry. Usually when somebody has, this is one actually, when somebody's wasting food and they throw it in the bin and I can't have it, which goes back to the gluttony side of things. But that also makes me very, very angry. Those two things are the main things that come to my mind this particular time. If you gave me some more time, I could probably go on for a few more minutes. But I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Right, we have time for one more, so we're not going to get to the deadly 7, but let's call it the deadly 6.
Oh, go on.
This number 6 is greed. No explanation required for greed. The question is, what can't you help being greedy about? What can't you help being greedy about? So that question goes to John.
Right, I'm new here, so this is all very new for me. What can't I help being greedy about? I'd have to say donuts. Because I have an affinity for donuts, I always seek them. If I can't find them, I'll go looking for donuts. So I think when I look at it that way, I do have a bit of an affair with donuts. But I think that it's one of those things. In life, you generally have things that you sort of seek and things that you sort of can control. And I think overall, I think I can. It's something that I seek to engage with, and yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. 6 great speakers, and we all really enjoyed that. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Madam Toastmaster.
I'm going to call the timekeeper. Thank you very much to Therapeutic Master, Manish. I think I was curious to know what was the 7th.
Sure.
But I think you're ready for that.
Can we not have it?
No, you've got time for it? No, he couldn't be bothered.
He will come back. He will come back. Let's have the timekeeper, because we're going to have a vote. So for the guests who don't know, we're going to vote for the best therapeutic speaker. So Dennis is going to give us the time and the names of each speaker, so we can vote.
Okay.
Please welcome Dennis.
I'm encouraging you.
Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and honoured guest. Right, for the table topic speakers tonight, there were 6 of them, and I must admit, Manish picked some wonderful topics there, really thought-provoking topics there. Right, we had 6 speakers. We had Gill on vanity. We had Justin on gluttony.
Times?
Yeah, times.
Gill on vanity, it was 1 minute, 20 seconds. Justin on gluttony was 1 minute 22 seconds. David on lust of oysters was 1 minute 30 seconds. Rudy, the topic on time wasting and food was 1 minute 24 seconds. John on his greed of donuts was 51 seconds. And Mike on envy was 1 minute 39 seconds. So those are the table topic speakers. Now we had two major speakers which were talking about pathway presentation. You had Coralie and you had Tony, and their speaking time was for 30 minutes. Coralie spoke for 29 minutes and 32 seconds, and Tony spoke for 31 minutes and 51 seconds.
Disqualified?
But we had quite a lot, we spent a lot of time with Tony on the Q&A session, so I think maybe because of that, I think
Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, we're not voting.
we're not voting. Okay, well that's
Did that include question and answer? When you said mine was 29 minutes, did that
yeah,
include
yours included the question,
Yeah.
the speech and
Thank
the
you.
Q&A session as well.
Just to get an idea of how
Yeah,
long it
so
was.
both
Thank
of you.
you.
Okay, so that's the time for this evening. I'll hand it back over to Toastmasters Lead.
Now we're going to the part of the evening where we're going to hear about the evaluation. We have 3 evaluators tonight. Please welcome the first evaluator, Satya. Satya was evaluating Coralie's speech.
Okay. Coralie. Well done. It was a fabulous speech. You know, I've heard about pathways for many, many months now, and I didn't know what to expect from the presentation, but I thought it would be complicated and hard to understand. But as soon as Coralie came onto the stage and she started to speak, I just went, because Coralie was the epitome of calm and tranquility. And this is a quality that I've always admired in the way that Coralie speaks and presents. She's very graceful and elegant in the way that she engages the audience. I think when she started to speak, we all relaxed, and then we were able to begin to really engage and understand the things that she was trying to help us to understand, which, as we've seen from the questions that came later, it is a complex program that's going on, and it is going to take us all quite a bit of time to really understand and get our heads around. So for helping us on that journey, thank you so much. The other thing that I really loved about Coralie's presentation was that when she came to do the body of the presentation, she came here, we could clearly see the slides, and she stood very still. She wasn't messing around with her hands or walking around, because if she had done that, that would have distracted us. But because she stood very still, she didn't move, her pace and her tone was very calm. It really helped us to engage with her and to understand what she was saying. So from that, I think the presentation was really, really good. There are a couple of things that I have got as recommendations. One of them was about having notes in your hand. When you have notes, and they were quite the A4 pieces of paper, it really is a barrier between the speaker and the audience. So as much as you can, it would be great. Maybe you could have put your notes on the lectern and have it over here, because I know there was a lot to say. It would be difficult not to have your notes, but it would be better if you didn't have your notes in your hand. The other recommendation is a bit of a double-edged sword. It was during the questions and the answers. Now, it was great that when you were asked a question, you went up to the audience and you actually listened to the questioner. And that was really great. But when you're answering, it would be really good to address all of the audience. Because when someone asks a question, it really helps everybody else also to understand what the answer is. So, at one point, you were speaking over here, and the people over there felt a little bit disengaged, I felt. So come back and really talk to everybody, so that everybody can understand what you're talking about. But overall, I thought it was a really good presentation. I thought you really engaged the audience. I thought that a subject that was quite difficult and complex, you made it easy, you relaxed everybody. So overall, really well done, fabulous presentation.
Summary evaluator for the evening is Peter, who was evaluating Tony. Who's
The problem with making an evaluation of two very similar speeches is that the person that goes ahead first to do the first evaluation said so much of what I wanted to say I could just go and sit down, really, because all the words, she used the word tranquility. I thought Tony was very tranquil, I thought he was calm, I thought he put the thing across extremely well. The two of them did a job in a very short space of time for something that looks like it's going to take us 2 years to try and absorb. So take this as a very, very difficult subject to take in 20-25 minutes. Tony, you are a very experienced speaker, but you clearly understand your subject. And if anybody is up here to give a speech on something that we all wish to learn from, the number one thing you need to do is actually understand what you're saying. And both of our speakers did that. The presentation of yourself is half the battle. When most of the information is up on the screen, 95% is to keep the attention of the audience whilst they're still reading what's on the screen. Now, sitting in the corner here, unfortunately, very difficult for me to even read what was on the screen, even though I did move the lectern. So I'm listening to you more than I would have done to actually read it. The biggest commendation I want to give you, and bearing in mind what Satya said about notes and pieces of paper, is that there's something great about standing here with this electronic genius in your hand, which I guess you call a iPad, right? A tablet. And for me, who's a technophobe, he presses buttons on here and it all changes on the screen. Now you must be impressed with that, because that really helps to get the thing across. When you're in my age group, this is just like what happened when they invented the telex. It was fantastic. I bet half of you don't even know what a telex is. But anyway, I thought your presentation was very good, the explanation was very good. I think I have one recommendation, when you've got the various titles, which I can't even remember now because there was so much information to absorb, it would have been great to have had an illustration. And I think Mike had actually mentioned that. Because we couldn't, I think someone said, can you make it any bigger? If you're making a comment on one of the illustrations that you were using, I want to see it come to the fore on the screen so I can actually read what it says and hear what you mean when you're trying to explain it. The second point, this was such a complicated thing. I would love to have had some information to read before we started. So because a lot of us, obviously the visitors apart, probably didn't have enough time to absorb what it was we were all going to do. All in all, I'm on your side now, which I wasn't when we started, so I guess you did a very good job. Madam Toastmaster.
Our third evaluator for the evening is Angela. Angela was evaluating the table topic. So please welcome Angela.
It will start dramatically.
Are you wearing the right shoes?
Yes, they're my new shoes arrived today. First of all, I would like to commend the topics master, Manish, on his aplomb and his amusing topics. My first thought was, oh my God, sins, this is negative. What's going to happen? And what was really impressive was that all 6 of our speakers managed to take what could have been a negative idea and made it positive. And that's what Toastmasters is all about. So our first speaker was Gill, who was asked to talk about pride. We started with an experienced speaker, and she turned the negative into the positive, and she jumped straight in. If you got a challenging question, she said, this is a hard question. She didn't just stand there thinking, it's a hard question. She voiced her thoughts. And this is what you do. If you can't answer a question, you say, how can I answer that question? And she said, this is a hard question. Then, if you can't describe yourself, you describe somebody else. Now, you don't want to say, I'm a sinner, I'm a gluttoner, I'm a lustful person. So she's picked on her father. And she said he was an honest man. Now, a little bit of advice, if she hadn't picked on her father and said he was honest and she wanted to describe somebody dishonest, then you pick somebody whose name you wouldn't mention, so you don't blame your father or a member of the audience or yourself or anyone else. You get out of that danger. You know, what she did was she turned the subject around, picked her father and said he was honest. The only thing I have to say that I would make as a suggestion about was she talked with her left hand and kept her other hand down. And I thought, I wonder if she is left-handed and has she lost her other hand? Because when I was sitting over there, I couldn't see this hand. I could only see this hand moving and the other one. And I was just wondering if I'd missed something. So bring out the other hand and talk with both hands. Now our second speaker was Mike on envy. Again, a challenging topic. And he similarly took the positive subject and made it positive. He didn't describe a particular person scratching a car. He didn't go out and said, I bet you would scratch a car, wouldn't you? No, of course not. He described an anonymous person scratching a car and said, that's not me. Absolutely perfect. And he used a lovely, great word, emulate, and talked about all the things he wanted out of life, singing and so on. And his punchline was great, I don't feel jealousy. Third speaker, Justin, am I right? Where's Justin? Justin, has a deep voice and a commanding presence. And his subject was gluttony. Again, I was thinking, what am I going to say about this? I'm going to say I ate all those lovely chocolates we were donated by our wonderful lady Chantal here.
No, he talked about water. I mean, I never thought of that. I mean, just water. I was impressed, water and being healthy. And what he did that was good was the gestures. He rubbed his tummy. Oh, what a wonderful thing to do when talking about gluttony. And then I thought, I wondered what Dave was going to do talking about lust. Anyway, I can see Mike's already thinking ahead of me. I don't know what he's thinking. So, David, a commanding speaker, and he turned around a phrase, eat little but often, and made it into a joke. I eat little, but often. I thought that was extremely clever. Then he got into this story about oysters, a great subject, and talked about it being invented by a marketing man, the idea that it was led to lust. So, very good idea, and a positive punchline. He used the word, the greatest pleasure. You could take that phrase and keep it for any topic to end on, or any speech. Then that was the fourth speaker. The fifth one was Rudy, talking about anger. Another challenge. But he talked about small things that we all feel. And he gave two lots of gestures as well. One was when he was looking for things. And what was the other one? Oh, wasting time. And he was talking about, wasting time, and he was making these gestures. I thought that was excellent. And he addressed the audience. And then finally, there was no chance of my feeling any tranquility. I was completely entranced by all the speakers. Who is the fourth?
John.
Sixth. John. Where are you, John? Hello, John. John talked about shepherd's pie, is that right?
No. Greed.
Greed. Greed, yes. Yes. He talked about greed.
We all get a vote now.
Yes. And he was very good, and he was so good, and I just got interested when he came to an end. We were just with you. Keep going. Keep going. That's the only thing I can say. You've got your audience. They're all agog. Keep talking. They want to hear from you. We heard from 6th grade speakers, and we had a wonderful series of topics.
Thank you, Angela. Now we're going to hear from Mr. Tranquility, Mr. Brian. So please welcome Bobbie with the Gravaya report.
Is it clutch or crutch?
Crutch. Crutch.
What was it?
Crutch. Like what you put under your arm.
As I said the wrong word earlier.
Yeah.
So I said I'm looking for crutch words.
Clutch is what you have in a cup.
Yeah, that's it.
You're
So it's
clutching
crutch,
on
yeah?
crutch words.
Yeah.
Clutch words.
So crutch words is what I was looking for. Now the two main pathways of the speeches, the big pathway speeches, were done by very professional speakers that have been here quite a while, and I struggled to find crutch words for Tony and Coralie in their speeches. I did find a few ums and ahs, which I just did on there. Here we go.
That's 3
Yeah, I'm just getting the count up right now. Tony, you had 5 ums. Coralie had 5 ers. No crutch words. I couldn't find any. I was reading.
That's good.
I couldn't find anything.
It's a good thing.
How many times? So the word tranquility. So how many times did you think tranquility was said?
10.
10. It wasn't quite 10, it was 8.
8.5.
It was 8. It was 8 times. So it's a well-used word today, and it was very calmly used. Tranquility. I might say it again. 10, yeah.
Tranquility, 11.
Aye, 11. Right. How many L's are in tranquility?
One.
One.
One. Got that wrong.
Yeah. Because Gill spotted this at the start, but did any of
That's not good,
did you
yes.
spot it as well? This is Google, alright? Don't blame me. Google.
That's probably American spelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Silly Americans, isn't it? Negative idea into positive ideas. That was something that was said earlier by Mike. Angela mentioned it in a evaluation. And it's something that we do at Toastmasters. So even though we're throwing a negative, we're still trying to make it into a positive. And we did that really well on the table topics, I thought. And it was very successfully done. Like, I don't feel jealousy, he said. Do you know, I must say, with Mike, I feel like you're the wise man. And like, someone to look up to. Like, when I'm older, I want to be like Mike. He's taller as well.
Yeah, you'll be taller than me, sir.
Another word that I really liked, I know it was short and sweet, John. I know you came up here and you was talking about donuts. It's like the Affinity Donuts and the donut affair, and you go out looking for them. Imagine you in Tesco's Extra looking around. Hit the jackpot, Krispy Kremes there.
Bobbie, we're going to call him Homer from now.
What's his name?
Homer.
Homer. Yeah. Right, so grammarian, this was my first time. I hope